back to the show, everybody. The Michael K. Show from 3 to 6:30 every single day right here on 880 ESPN. And you could watch us on the simulcast on the YES Network. We're talking about the Jets' 32-19 loss to the 49ers in Santa Clara last night on Monday Night Football. And the radio voice of the New York Jets, Bob Wischusen, called the action. I was listening for most of the second half in the car as the Yankee game ended. Did a great job, as always, with Anthony Beck, working with him for the first time as his partner on the regular, and he joins us now. Bob, Don and I were just talking about this, where you see Christian McCaffrey's not starting. You feel really good about the Jets, especially this is a Jet team that a lot of people said have a chance to go to the Super Bowl. Were you a little disappointed by their performance yesterday?
Yeah. I mean, hopefully, Michael, and I know you do this as well. You try to present it in as even a hand as possible. You talk about the positives, you talk about the negatives. There were positives. There were definitely things that they did in that game that they could build on. But I think the one thing that surprised me the most, that I would never really see coming with this team, was being out-physicaled at the line of scrimmage. And it seemed like they were beaten physically at the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball. Now, they were beaten physically by a team that will probably beat the other team that they play physically like 14 out of the 17 games that they play. Right? Like, this team is really, really good. So if you are looking for the worst possible scenario that you want to start the season off with, it's a team that many people will pick to go to the Super Bowl, that's been to the Super Bowl, that is a finished product on night one of the season, knows who they are, knows how they play, has a culture, and you're on the road, and you're kind of still a work in progress. Your quarterback hasn't played in 2 years, and all of that. So, there's a lot that the Jets still, I think, have that needs to kind of come together. But, I think that'll be a big focus for them this week. When they get back in the film room tomorrow, and Anthony talked about this in the broadcast last night, it's not fun. It's not fun to be a player and know, oh, man, like, my play's coming next. And I remember this moment. This is the moment where I got blown off the ball, and everybody's going to hear me get called out. And then that's in your head going into the next game where that ain't going to happen to me again. And so hopefully they'll man up and play a much more physical game this week. But, I mean, they'll admit it, I'm sure, themselves. They got moved around last night, and that doesn't usually happen to them.
I can't imagine one game would move the needle, Bob, but I wonder how Reddick's camp viewed that, and would it open any dialogue? Does it get anybody talking about reassessing things if the defense were to, say, struggle again against Tennessee?
Nah, I mean, he's not like a dominant run stopper, right? Like, he's a great pass rusher, but they're not putting him in at the 3 technique to stop a straight-ahead hammer looking for a nail running back. And that's like, those guys, they played last night with at times 2, oftentimes 2, sometimes 3 tight ends. And they just ran the ball at the Jets and then threw off play action. So this was not a, Brock Purdy standing back there, 2 wide receivers on either side, or we're going to play empty, and we're just going to, run these intricate route trees down the field, and we're going to block up your great pass rushers. That was not the way they played. They knew the way they needed to play without McCaffrey, and that was, we are going to play like big boy physical football and plow straight ahead. And to their credit, they played extremely well that way. Now, if Hassan Reddick was a 325-pound, like if he was Aaron Donald and he was holding out, then yeah, maybe like that might have been, the kind of game that he would have liked to have seen. But that wasn't a pass rushers game last night. Like that was a defensive tackles game last night that would have made an enormous difference maybe, or that kind of thing. And they would have just run either at him or away from him, and he wouldn't go out there and all of a sudden change the line of scrimmage.
Talking with Bob Wischusen, radio play-by-play voice of the Jets. So let's get back to Rodgers, Bob. So I'm getting a lot of pushback from fans because I said he was fine yesterday. I don't think he was great. I don't think he was bad. I thought he was fine. What's your evaluation on Rodgers in his first game?
Yeah, I mean, what I saw was the DNA of everything that you would want their offense to be. It's there. But again, in front of him, that has to come together. And they played a really, really good, hard-hitting, physical defensive front seven. They never got Breece Hall in the run game going, and that has a lot to do with how they want to play offensively. Right? Like, what did Breece Hall have? 13, 14 carries, 35 yards?
Right.
They also had about 30 less plays in the game. I mean, that has a lot to do with how many guys get targeted, how much of a rhythm their offense is able to get into, because when they lost the ball, then their defense couldn't get the 49ers off the field because they couldn't stop the run. So, like, when you've got 45 plays and the other team's got 70, that has a lot to do with how much of a rhythm your offense gets into. Part of the reason you only have 45 plays is you can't run the ball and keep their offense off the field. So, like, everything goes hand in hand. But, I mean, it didn't take long. It was the end of the first quarter of the first game where you saw them put together a drive that was better than any offensive drive that we've seen arguably over the last 3 years. But that 7-minute drive with 3 third-down bullets that he threw to Garrett Wilson, that was longer time of possession-wise than any drive that they had all of last season. In the first quarter of the first game, they already accomplished that. So it's there. And I think all of that, again, is an evolutionary process as the season goes on. He will get better. They will get better. Mike Williams will obviously get better as the year goes on. His role will expand. And they're going to play easier teams to beat, right? I mean, they're going to play teams that aren't this good. And that'll make a difference as well.
And that's why I really looked at the Aaron Rodgers performance as a positive for all the reasons you said. Plus, he hadn't played since January of 23. So I wasn't expecting a lot. I thought there'd be a lot of rust. You look at the way the Cousins played in Atlanta, coming off an Achilles. I was grading on a curve last night, so I looked at that as a net positive, the way he played in his first performance as a Jet outside those 4 plays last year.
I said to him after the game, I don't think there was any, not just in the NFL, I don't think, you guys probably agree, I don't think there was any sporting event that we overreact to more than the outcome of week 1 in the NFL. Right? Like, the sky is falling or we're going to the Super Bowl is based off of week 1 in the NFL. Everybody was wrong about a prediction of a team, or everybody was right based off of one outcome. And if they go out there on the road and win on Sunday in Tennessee, they're going to be 1-1, and all of a sudden they're coming off a win, and now they're back at home. The place will be jumping. A night game against the Patriot team that everybody thinks ultimately is probably not going to be that good this year. They could be 2-1 in 2 weeks. He could look better. They could look better, and things could be pointing in the right direction. That could easily happen. So, yeah, I think to overreact could that's not uncommon in this league off of a week 1 loss, especially to a really, really good opponent on the road in a tough environment.
Well, you were on the team, as they're heading home. Were they down, or was it okay? We've got to pick up the pieces and move on. I know it's just one game, but there are only 17 of them. So was it a team that was down?
Yeah, all of that. They were down, because they know, I think, and especially the defensive side of the ball takes a lot of pride in how they play, and they know they got moved around, and they're not used to that, and they don't like that, and there's a pride there, right? And they know how they play. Last year, they were number 1 in the league, I believe, in average yards per play against. So they were the hardest team in the NFL to move the ball against. Now, to their credit, San Francisco last year was the number 1 offense in the league in average yards per play. So they were the most efficient offense. So it was the number 1 offense against the number 1 defense in the ability to move the ball. Well, the number 1 offense beat the number 1 defense last night. There's no doubt. But that doesn't mean that the Jets weren't, their pride, I think, was hurt a little bit. But sometimes that's good, right? Sometimes competition's a good thing. get your pride hurt can be a good thing in this league. Little test of manhood can be a good thing. And I would expect that defense will come out this week, and you will see a different group at the line of scrimmage. I'd be very surprised if you didn't.
And we were reminded, because we didn't get to see it at all last year, but a little bit in the preseason, especially in that Giant game last year, the kind of chemistry that he and Wilson can have. And you saw that on that touchdown drive, but you didn't see a lot of it after. What adjustments did the 49ers make to take Wilson out of the game after that first drive?
Yeah, it's hard for me. I'd probably have to go back and look at the tape to see how they rolled their coverages specifically to him. Clearly when they saw that this is the guy that he's going to be looking to try and beat us, but then he hit Lazard a couple of times, and so he's obviously, he's Aaron Rodgers, right? He's going to find the matchup and try and exploit. If you start to take guy A away, he'll go to guy B. That's where you need to see the other guys step up, and that's where you need to see, I think, just the chemistry build with the rest of the group. I was surprised that the tight ends didn't play a bigger role. Tyler Conklin can catch the ball. Jeremy Ruckert needs to be a weapon. And the Jets play a lot of two tight end offense. And he likes to throw to his tight ends. Go back and look at the tight end numbers that some of those guys put up with him in Green Bay. So those guys need to have their roles expand as the year goes on. I think you'll see that as well. This can't all be the whole season, every ball going to Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson. No offense can survive with 80 to 90% of the touches going to two guys. Right? Those guys will get hurt, and defenses, even bad defenses, can key on two players. So it has to get spread around. I'm sure it will, but all of that also comes with having more plays, and that also means your defense getting off the field. If the other team's got 70, 75 plays, and you've got 40, 45 plays, it can look a little lopsided towards one or two guys just because there weren't that many opportunities.
Were you and Anthony as puzzled or curious about the Sauce Gardner leaving the game for 8 plays?
Well, at the time, yes. They said he got the wind knocked out of him. I can only take them at their word. All of a sudden, Brandon Echols is out there playing the left side corner spot. I don't even know if the Niners immediately recognized that. They didn't immediately, not like they were isolating Brandon Echols and throwing at him. I didn't notice that. They kind of just stuck to their game plan and did what they did and just kept on running the ball. It didn't last too long. It was, whatever it was, 7 or 8 plays. He got back in at the end of that possession, if memory serves. But not having your best secondary player on the field and having him not being looked at the trainers, standing on the sideline, holding his helmet, or then his helmet goes back on and he's not coming back on the field, at the time seemed puzzling.
Now, Bob, last week you already accused me, appropriately, of being a bit of a Debbie Downer with my concern over Aaron Rodgers and his football team. I have to tell you, there's a certain part of me that just felt good about watching him play a 60-minute football game, take a nice sack there, do all the things football players do, and look no worse for the wear. Did that affect you in any way, just sort of seeing Aaron Rodgers complete a game as a Jet?
Is that Peter?
That's me.
Where did Peter come from?
I'm here. Bob, I was just taking you in.
Many people have asked that question.
I was drinking you in, baby.
Wasn't sure. Did Peter get half the per diem today? Did he just parachute in?
You know what? Hey, Bob, I'm gonna text you and tell you why I hate your guts.
No, I was going to say that our company's very big on not calling attention to things. I guess Bob didn't get the memo.
No, Bob did not. Thanks, Bob. I appreciate it.
By blowing up your spot is what.
Answer the damn question,
I
Bob.
frankly love what you just did, Bob.
Michael, for the first hour and 15 minutes of the show, where the hell was Peter?
He's very introspective at the beginning of the show.
Yeah, I was just sitting here, and I was preparing for this question, Bob.
That's right. What'd you think?
The answer to your question was, I said it all week. When they got to play 5 last night and beyond, I thought everything after that was probably a sigh of relief. And the first hit he took and got up and left the field and he was okay. And he even said it after the game. The first couple times he got knocked around and was okay, yes. That to get through the game healthy and to be a football player again and to know that he can be a football player again and be okay is obviously a big step forward. So, yes, a healthy Aaron Rodgers, knowing that you have him going to week 2, clearly gives them hope that, as I said earlier, the DNA of what they need to be offensively, we saw enough of it last night to believe that it's there. It can be what they need it to be. But now they just need to sustain it. And it'll get better as the year goes on. I really do think that the upside is still there for the whole team. That was a really hard game against a really good opponent last night. That's a tough barometer to start the season with.
All right, before I let you go, it's been forever that, you've worked with Marty Lyons. Now, you have history with Anthony Beck, but was it weird yesterday?
It was. It was weird getting on the bus for the first time, and Marty wasn't sitting in the back of the bus, So, I texted him before the game, and, we talked during the week. Anthony's great, and we've been friends for a long time, so I couldn't ask for, a better landing spot. But 22 years.
That's a long time.
It's hard to just flip the switch. I don't know that anybody that even covers our business realized it, but Marty and I had the longest uninterrupted pairing in New York broadcasting, sports-wise.
Wow.
No other booth, every other sports booth in New York, radio and television, had experienced some change over the last 22 years except ours.
Well, it must have been difficult, but I did listen to the second half. You guys sounded seamless. You did a great job.
Yeah, Anthony made it easy, as easy as it could be. But, Marty's my brother forever. So, I went from not even knowing him at all to him becoming one of my best friends over the last 22 years. So, I'm sure you know that feeling, right? It's when you become, really tight with the guys that you work with, it says a lot. And who spends more time with their broadcast partners than a guy who does baseball?
Yeah.
Right? So, you see those guys every single day.
Yeah, but you see Michael's struggling with you see what Bob, you see what's going on with Michael and John Flaherty though. He's struggling.
Why are you perpetuating this nonsense,
Too
Peter?
soon.
Well, why don't you stand down for another hour and a half? Bob, thank you. We'll talk to you next Tuesday, I guess.
Absolutely. We're just slipping a little revenge there for the hour and 15 minutes missing.
I'll talk to you next. I'll talk to you next Tuesday around 4:30, 4:45.
Goodbye, Bob.
Great. Look forward to it. See you.
It's so funny because we like to obfuscate, right, Don? Don't bring attention to that, Peter. But I did say at the beginning that Peter had an appointment, so we weren't hiding that. But then we never mentioned it again. And Bob just blew up your spot like never before.
You don't expect it from a guest, but I can't be mad at him because that means that he listens to the first part of the show before we're here.
He was.
So I appreciate. Now you know why though? Because we know Bob likes to get them words. As they say, as the great RJ says, Bob likes to get them words. He's going to get on this show and make an impact. So he wants to listen to the first hour before he gets on.
You know what we're talking about.
So he can get on and bob it up. And that's exactly what he does.
Bob it up.
Or, as was just said, Bob, I was just taking you in. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, good for you.
Let's go to Chris in the UPS truck.
God bless.
More UPS. God bless. God bless.
Hey, what's up? Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Hey, Chris.
I'm actually impressed. This is the first time that I've heard Jets talk this long. So everybody at my facility is they all listen to you guys now because I told them about all the ways to listen. So they're consistent people to listen. So they told me to call and tell you guys that they're all Jets fans. I just want to say the Jets ain't gonna win the Super Bowl. Next year they're not gonna win the Super Bowl. The Jets, for the first time, I picked them as my defensive fantasy league. This is the first time I even seen a defensive team give up a negative point. That was crazy. And it's supposed to be the best, one of the best defenses. and against a team that didn't have the best player in the NFL. I mean, I'm a Giants fan, so I'm not going to talk too much. We're going to start till maybe I die. Who knows? But the Jets is trash.
Well, wait, Chris, how old are you?
I'm 34.
No, you've got like 60 more years on Earth. They'll win before that.
No, I don't know with everything going on. But what I really wanted to say was I didn't see anything with the Jets. I do agree with Don. It was impressive to see actual quarterback go up to the line because all I watch is Giants. So I'm unfortunately I'm stuck with Daniel. So to see somebody go up to the line and like break down the play and go through his reads as he's calling, well, after he calls hut and not stare down the receiver, it was really impressive. But what you guys said in Island Hahn and Buzz Scott, when you guys said before the year started that as long as they hold the team under 19 points or something, they're going to average 19 to 25 points a game, which they scored 19 points. But to give up,
yeah, but
30,
Chris, one thing, and we thank you for that wasn't 19, as Don said. That was lipstick on a pig. That last touchdown. They got the difference in the two teams is so much more than the final score. That's why I don't think the Jets are winning the Super Bowl this year. I don't think the Jets are going deep in the playoffs. Maybe I'm going to be wrong. But from what I saw, there's so much of a disparity between a team that is possibly going to the Super Bowl and them. Why should it be that much?
Well, the best thing you could say is, well, right now, you're right. But there's a lot of season left to play. They can change it.
But Don, they played a team without one of its best players, if not the best player.
But a very good team, at least.
Right, but without Christian McCaffrey.
But would McCaffrey have done any better?
No.
Than those numbers?
That's
so that kind of tells you that it's, again, I'm not going to take anything away from Christian McCaffrey, but this is why we talk about not taking running backs high, is because when you have a functioning offense with that kind of coaching behind it and those kind of holes to run through, you're going to get yours. So,
do you want to know the most troubling thing, though? Do you guys remember what my biggest gripe was about my crappy Commanders game on Sunday?
Tell us.
I came in. I said they could not stop anyone. It was like set whatever. I mean, the Jets broke a record for not stopping someone. I mean, what, they score on 8 straight drives?
8 straight drives.
So, like, as bad. I came in telling you guys, well, I found out that the Commanders don't have a defense. The Jets said, hold my beer, and we're even worse.
But they're supposed to. That's why I think they'll bounce back.
They're supposed to what?
It's a tough night. Play better defense.
Right, correct.
I don't know what the Commanders have a pretty.
No, they should be better also.
Good, but the Jets are supposed to be a top 5 defense.
They're supposed to be a very stout defense. You can't imagine they're going to be that way. But guys, this is not the first time that we've come into a season very excited about the Jets defense, and at first they don't show you exactly what they are. So give them a little time.